Shemu'el 2, 2 Samuel chapter 1. And it came to be after the death of Sha'ul, when Dawid had returned from smiting the Amalekites, that Dawid remained 2 days in Ziklag. And it came to be on the 3rd day that, see, a man came out of the camp from Sha'ul with his garments torn and dust on his head. And it came to be when he came to Dawid that he fell to the ground and did obeisance. And Dawid said to him, "From where do you come?" And he said to him, "I have escaped from the camp of Yisrael." And Dawid said to him, "What was the matter? Please inform me." And he said, "The people have fled from the battle, and also many of the people have fallen and are dead, and Sha'ul and Yohanathan his son are dead too." And Dawid said to the young man who informed him, "How do you know that Sha'ul and Yohanathan his son are dead?" And the young man who informed him said, "By chance I was on Mount Gilboa, and saw Sha'ul leaning on his spear, and see the chariots and horsemen followed hard after him. And when he looked behind him, he saw me and called to me, and I answered, 'Here I am.' And he said to me, 'Who are you?' So I answered him, 'I am an Amalekite.' And he said to me, 'Please stand over me and put me to death, for agony has seized me, but my life is still in me.' So I stood beside him and put him to death, for I knew he would not live after he had fallen. And I took the diadem that was on his head and the bracelet that was on his arm, and have brought them here to my master." And Dawid took hold of his own garments and tore them, and also all the men who were with him. And they mourned and wept and fasted until evening for Sha'ul and for Yohanathan his son, and for the people of Yahweh and for the house of Yisrael, because they had fallen by the sword. Then Dawid asked the young man who informed him, "Where are you from?" And he answered, "I am the son of a sojourner in Amalekite." And Dawid said to him, "How was it you were not afraid to stretch out your hand to destroy the anointed of Yahuah?" And Dawid called one of the young men and said, "Draw near and fall on him." And he smote him so that he died. And Dawid said to him, "Your blood is on your own head, for your own mouth has witnessed against you, saying, 'I myself have put to death the anointed of Yahuah.'" Then Dawid lamented with this lamentation over Sha'ul and over Yohanathan his son, and he ordered the bow to be taught to the children of Yehudah. See, it is written in the book of Yashar, "The splendor of Yisrael is slain on your high places. How the mighty have fallen. Declare it not in Gath, proclaim it not in the streets of Ashkelon, lest the daughters of the Palestites rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised exult. Mountains of Gilboa, no dew or rain be upon you, nor fields of offerings, for there the shield of the mighty lay rejected, the shield of Sha'ul not anointed with oil. From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, the bow of Yohanathan did not turn back, and the sword of Sha'ul did not return empty. Sha'ul and Yohanathan were beloved and pleasant in their lives, and in their death they were not parted. They were swifter than eagles, they were stronger than lions. Daughters of Yisrael, weep over Sha'ul, who wrapped you in scarlet with finery, who decked your robes with ornaments of gold. How the mighty have fallen in the midst of the battle. Yohanathan was slain in your high places. I am distressed for you, my brother Yohanathan. You have been very pleasant to me. Your love to me was wondrous, surpassing the love of women. How the mighty have fallen, and the weapons of battle perish." Shemu'el 2, 2 Samuel chapter 2. And it came to be afterwards that Dawid inquired of Yahuah, saying, "Do I go up to any of the cities of Yehudah?" And Yahuah said to him, "Go up." And Dawid said, "Where should I go up?" And he said, "To Hebron." And Dawid went up there, as well as his 2 wives, Zochinamin the Yisraelitess, and Abigail the widow of Nabal the Carmelite. And Dawid brought up the men who were with him, each man with his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron. And the men of Yehudah came and anointed Dawid sovereign over the house of Yehudah there. They also reported to Dawid, saying, "The men of Yabesh Gilead are they who buried Sha'ul." Dawid then sent messengers to the men of Yavesh Gilead and said to them, "You are Baruch of Yahuah, for you have shown this kindness to your master, to Sha'ul, that you buried him. And now Yahuah show kindness and truth to you. And I am also going to do you good, because you have done this deed. And now let your hands be strengthened and be brave, for your master Sha'ul is dead, and also the house of Yahudah has anointed me sovereign over them." But Avner, son of Ner, commander of the army of Sha'ul, took Ishbosheth, the son of Sha'ul, and brought him over to Mechanaim, and appointed him to reign over Gilead, and over the Asherites, and over Yisrael, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Yisrael. Ishbosheth, son of Sha'ul, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Yisrael, and he reigned 2 years. Only the house of Yahudah followed Dawid. And the time that Dawid was sovereign in Hebron over the house of Yahudah was 7 years and 6 months. And Avner, son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbosheth, son of Sha'ul, went out from Mechanaim to Givon. And Joab, son of Zeruiah, and the servants of Dawid went out and met them by the pool of Givon. And they sat down, one on one side of the pool, and the other on the other side of the pool. And Avner said to Joab, "Let the young men now rise and compete before us." And Joab said, "Let them rise." And they rose and went over by number, 12 from Benjamin, followers of Ishbosheth, son of Sha'ul, and 12 from the servants of Dawid. And each one grasped his opponent by the head and thrust his sword in his opponent's side, and they fell down together. So that place was called the Field of Sharp Swords, which is in Givon. And the battle was fierce that day, and Avner and the men of Yisrael were smitten before the servants of Dawid. And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab, and Avishai, and Asahel. And Asahel was light on his feet as one of the gazelles in the field. And Asahel pursued Avner, and in going he did not turn aside to the right or to the left from following Avner. And Avner looked behind him and said, "Are you Asahel?" And he answered, "I am." And Avner said to him, "Turn aside to your right hand or to your left, and lay hold on one of the young men, and take his armor for yourself." But Asahel would not turn aside from following him. And Avner again said to Asahel, "Turn aside from following me. Why should I smite you to the ground? How then could I face your brother Joab?" But he refused to turn aside, and Avner smote him with the blunt end of the spear in the stomach, so that the spear came out of his back, and he fell down there and died on the spot. And it came to be that as many as came to the place where Asahel fell down and died stood still. And Joab and Avishai pursued Avner, and the sun was going down, and they came to the hill of Ammah, which overlooks Giach, by the way to the wilderness of Givon. And the children of Benjamin gathered together behind Avner, and became a single company, and took their stand on top of a hill. And Avner called to Joab and said, "Should the sword devour forever? Do you not know that it is bitter in the later end? And when are you going to say to the people to turn back from pursuing their brothers?" And Joab said, "As Elohim lives, if you had not spoken, then all the people would have given up pursuing their brothers only the next morning." Joab then blew a ram's horn, and all the people halted and pursued Yisrael no further, nor did they fight any more. And Avner and his men went on all that night through the desert plain, and passed over the Jordan, and went through all Bithron, and they came to Mechanaim. And Joab turned back from pursuing Avner, and when he had gathered all the people together, there were missing of David's servants 19 men and Asahel. But the servants of Dawid had smitten of Benjamin and Avner's men 360 men who died, and they brought Asahel and buried him in his father's tomb, which was in Bethlehem. And Joab and his men went all night, and they came to Hebron at daybreak. Shemu'el 2, 2 Samuel chapter 3. And the fighting between the house of Sha'ul and the house of Dawid was long drawn out, and Dawid continued to strengthen, but the house of Sha'ul continued to weaken. And sons were born to Dawid in Hebron, and his first was Amnon by Ahinoam the Yisraelitess, and his second Chileab by Abigail the widow of Nabal the Carmelite, and the third Absalom son of Maacah the daughter of Talmai son of Geshur, and the fourth Adonai son of Haggith, and the fifth Shephatiah son of Abital, and the sixth Yithream by Dawid's wife Eglah. These were born to Dawid in Hebron. And it came to be, while there was fighting between the house of Sha'ul and the house of Dawid, that Abner was strengthening himself in the house of Sha'ul. And Sha'ul had a concubine whose name was Rizpah, daughter of Aiah. And Ishbosheth said to Abner, "Why have you gone into my father's concubine?" And Abner was very displeased at the words of Ishbosheth, and said, "Am I a dog's head that belongs to Yehudah, that I show kindness to the house of Sha'ul your father, to his brothers and to his friends today, and have not let you fall into the hand of Dawid, that you charge me today with a wickedness concerning this woman? Elohim does so to Abner, and more also, if I do not do for Dawid as Yahuah has sworn to him, to cause the rain to pass over from the house of Sha'ul, and to raise up the throne of Dawid over Yisrael and over Yehudah from Dan to Beersheba." And he was unable to answer Abner another word, because he feared him. And Abner sent messengers on his behalf to Dawid, saying, "Whose is the land?" saying also, "Make your covenant with me, and see, my hand is with you to bring all Yisrael to you." And Dawid said, "Good, I make a covenant with you. Only one matter I am asking of you. You do not see my face unless you first bring Michal, daughter of Sha'ul, when you come to see my face." Dawid then sent messengers to Ishbosheth, son of Sha'ul, saying, "Give me my wife Michal, to whom I became engaged for 100 foreskins of the Palestinites." And Ishbosheth sent and took her from her husband, from Paltiel, son of Laish. But her husband went with her to Becherim, going on and weeping behind her. And Abner said to him, "Go, turn back." And he turned back. And Abner had a word with the elders of Yisrael, saying, "In time past you were seeking for Dawid to be sovereign over you, and now do it, for Yahuah has spoken of Dawid, saying, By the hand of my servant Dawid I save my people Yisrael from the hand of the Palestinites and the hand of all their enemies." And Abner also spoke in the hearing of Benjamin, and Abner also went to speak in the hearing of Dawid in Hebron all that seemed good to Yisrael and all the house of Benjamin. And Abner and 20 men with him came to Dawid at Hebron, and Dawid made a feast for Abner and the men who were with him. And Abner said to Dawid, "Let me arise and go and gather all Yisrael to my master the sovereign, and let them make a covenant with you, and you shall reign over all that your being desires." And Dawid sent Abner away, and he went in peace. And see, the servants of Dawid and Yoav came from a raid, and brought much spoil with them. But Abner was not with Dawid in Hebron, for he had sent him away, and he had gone in peace. And Yoav and all the army that was with him came, and they reported to Yoav, saying, "Abner, son of Ner, came to the sovereign, and he sent him away, and he has gone in peace." And Yoav went to the sovereign and said, "What have you done? See, Abner has come to you? Why is it that you sent him away, and he has already gone? You know that Abner, son of Ner, came to deceive you, to know you're going out and you're coming in, and to know all that you are doing." Yoav then left Dawid, and he sent messengers after Abner, who brought him back from the well of Sirah, but Dawid did not know it. Thus Abner returned to Hebron, and Yoav took him aside in the gate to speak with him privately, and there struck him in the stomach, so that he died for the blood of Asahel, his brother. And when Dawid heard it afterwards, he said, "My reign and I are guiltless before Yahuah forever of the blood of Abner, son of Ner. let it rest on the head of Joab and on all his father's house, and let there never fail to be in the house of Joab one who has a discharge, or is a leper, who leans on a staff, or falls by the sword, or who lacks bread. So Joab and Avishai his brother slew Avner, because he had killed their brother Asahel at Givon in the battle. And Dawid said to Joab and to all the people who were with him, "Tear your garments, gird yourselves with sackcloth, and mourn for Avner." And sovereign Dawid followed the coffin. And they buried Avner in Hebron, and the sovereign lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Avner, and all the people wept. And the sovereign sang a lament over Avner and said, "Should Avner die as a fool dies? Your hands were not bound, nor your feet put in shackles. As one falls before sons of evil, so you fell." And all the people wept over him again. And all the people came to cause Dawid to eat food while it was still day. But Dawid swore, saying, "Elohim do so to me, and more also, if I taste bread or whatever else till the sun goes down." And all the people took note of it, and it was good in their eyes, since whatever the sovereign did was good in the eyes of all the people. And all the people and all Yisrael knew that day that it had not been the sovereign's intent to kill Avner, son of Ner. The sovereign also said to his servants, "Do you know that a prince and a great one has fallen in Yisrael today? And I am weak today, though anointed sovereign, and these men, the sons of Zeruiah, are too harsh for me. Let Yahuah repay the evildoer according to his evil." Shemu'el 2, 2 Samuel chapter 4. And the son of Sha'ul heard that Avner had died in Hebron, and he lost heart, and all Yisrael was troubled. And the son of Sha'ul had 2 men, commanders of bands, and the name of one was Baanah, and the name of the other Rechab, sons of Rimmon the Beerothite of the children of Benjamin. For Beeroth was also reckoned to Benjamin, because the Beerothites fled to Gittaim, and have been sojourners there until this day. Now Jonathan, son of Sha'ul, had a son who was lame in his feet. He was 5 years old when the news about Sha'ul and Jonathan came from Yisrael, and his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to be, as she hurried to flee, that he fell and became lame, and his name was Mephibosheth. So the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, Rechab and Baanah, went and came at about the heat of the day to the house of Ishbosheth, who was lying on his bed at noon. And they came into the midst of the house to fetch wheat, and they struck him in the stomach, and Rechab and Baanah his brother escaped. Thus they came into the house when he was lying on his bed in his bedroom, and they smote him and slew him and beheaded him. And they took his head and went the way of the desert plain all night, and brought the head of Ishbosheth to Dawid at Hebron, and said to the sovereign, "See the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Sha'ul, your enemy, who sought your life. So Yahuah has given my master the sovereign vengeance on Sha'ul and his seed this day." And Dawid answered Rechab and Baanah his brothers, sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, and said to them, "As Yahuah lives, who has redeemed my life out of all distress, when someone reported to me, saying, 'See, Sha'ul is dead,' and he was a bearer of good news in his own eyes, I then took hold of him and slew him in Ziklag, which was the reward I gave him for his news. How much more, when wicked men have slain a righteous man in his own house on his bed, should I not now require his blood at your hand and remove you from the earth?" And Dawid commanded his young men, and they slew them, and cut off their hands and feet, and hanged them by the pool in Hebron. And they took the head of Ishbosheth, and buried it in the tomb of Avner in Hebron.